Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, fine, thank you. You?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I've got Sister Teresa here as well.
Oh, Assalamu alaikum, Teresa. How are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Salam. I'm fine, thank you.
That's good.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum
Walaikum
assalam.
salam. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and Assalamu alaikum, Sister Sidra. Ustaza Sidra Naeem is an Alimah qualified from Al-Huda International. She has studied the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in detail. In this series, she will be focusing on the meanings, explanations, and ways of implementing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes into our lives. The session will conclude with an interactive questions and answers. Today, we will be continuing and focusing on two more of Allah's attributes, Al-Qaabid and Al-Baasit. Over to you, Sister Sidra.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and thank you very much for tuning in again for our next two names of Allah. Last time we spoke about Ar-Razaq, which was actually one of my favorite Allah's names, which means sustenance, which means the rizq that he provides us. Food, clothing, shelter, money, even happiness, everything. Did you know? And our next two names are actually very heavily linked with rizq, Al-Razaq. And this time we're looking at quantities. How much does Allah give us of everything? He limits some people, and some people he gives lots of some things. So it can be a test, and it can be other ways as well, why he's giving us more, because we're more grateful. So we're going to investigate today. How does Allah, what is his criteria? How come some people have more money and some don't? And, this is all linked with the next two names. So it's very, very interesting, the next two names are. So let's have a look. I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you all. And you should get two names together on the screen. Al-Qaabid, which means the withholder, and the extender, which means he extends everything that he gives to you. And it may be in your life that sometimes certain things are withheld, and at other times they're not withheld. So at different times, Allah could stop giving you certain things. I can give you lots of examples. Say you've got a millionaire business, loads and loads of money, then all of a sudden Allah can stop it all and you can become bankrupt in seconds. And there's always reasons for that. Okay, so very interesting. So let us have a look at the two words in detail. So Al-Qaabid means the withholder, which refers to the attribute of withholding, grasping, making things scarce. He is the absolute owner of everything that he holds. Did you know he grasps the whole world and the universe with his right hand? So at any stage, he can close that hand, and that means withholding. And at any stage, he can open up his hands, and that means extending, which is Al-Baasit. Okay, now it doesn't just mean things like wealth and shelter and clothing. It also means your heart. He can close your heart to certain things. He can open your heart even to certain things like knowledge and sadness. Did you know? Even sadness and depression, he can close your brain and then you're going to get sad, and he can open your brain and then you're going to get happy. It is all completely up to Allah, what he withholds and what he extends. And all of these things we're talking about are actually rizq or razaq, which is the name we spoke about last time. So Al-Qaabid Al-Baasit is the one who withholds and extends. He contracts when it is good and expands when it is good. At times he withholds, and at other times he gives. This goes for provision, rizq, life and even death as well is all in his hands. So I'm going to put up an ayah of the Quran where both of these names are actually mentioned together.
من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا فيضاعفه له أضعافا كثيرة والله يقبض ويبسط وإليه ترجعون.
And it is Allah that withholds and extends your provisions for you, and unto him you shall return. Okay? Can anybody think of a certain provision which Allah gives in certain areas, but not in other areas in the world? Or within England, think of Essex, for example. Let's see if you can work this one out. This is one example, which then leads to rizq as well.
Definitely here, but I'm not sure what the answer to that is.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. Think of Essex and think of other areas in England where Allah sends certain more in Essex and less in other areas. Or there's very little of this in the Middle East, but Essex has a lot of this. And this is where he withholds and where he extends. Okay, I'll let you know. It's actually water, rain. Okay, if you look at rain, in certain areas, Allah sends more, like Essex. We get so much rain, but we're not grateful. But rain is blessing in disguise because rain then leads to rizq, vegetables, fruit, food. Okay, but in the Middle East, Allah doesn't send rain. And there is a reason for that. There is actually the story, there's a prophet story. It's the story of Ad, where people were not grateful for all the green and the water and the land that they had. And then Allah sent a calamity there. And it's actually in the Quran where the whole of the Middle East then went dry. And it never rained again, or it doesn't rain enough. But it says towards the end of the world, God will send rain there again. Okay? So it talks to you about, seest thou not Allah sends down rain and leads it through springs in the earth, then he causes to grow there with produce of various colors. He sends down rain from the sky and gives it with it gives life to the earth after it is dead. Verily in that are signs for those who are wise. Then it says, and we send down water from the sky according to due measure. It soaks in the soil and we certainly are able to drain it off with ease. Okay, so it talks to you about the whole water cycle actually in the Quran. So it's measured. In some areas you get it more, in some other areas you get it less. Can anybody think of something else which we get more in Europe, but it's less in the Middle East or in near the equator? Anything else? He withholds and he conceals.
Nighttime.
Good. Alex, that's a brilliant answer. What a clever girl you are. I'm really pleased with that answer. I really am. So Allah withholds the day for some people, and with that daylight comes provision, doesn't it? The more daylight you've got, the more likelihood there is for photosynthesis to happen and plants and trees to grow. And in some areas like Europe, we get a lot more, don't we? Sunshine. Our days are really, really long. Think of the summer. We're breaking our fast at like past 9 o'clock. Long, long days. That is actually a blessing, believe it or not, in disguise. The longer days you've got, the more provision we're going to have, aren't we? Okay, so daylight is much more in Europe. And this is an example of his two names where he withholds in some areas the daylight and extends in other areas. Okay, we are now going to look at some more examples in the next video of the way Allah extends certain things and withholds certain things.
The word Qaabid comes from the root qa-ba-da, and it means to grasp something, to grip something tight and to seize. From these meanings, it implies other things. For example, when you grasp and grip something tight, it means you have complete control and authority over it. When someone receives their wages, we say, Qabad his wages, because he has grasped the wages and he has complete control and authority to do what he wants with it. It also implies when you grasp and grip something tight, you constrict it, you withhold it, you shrink it, or you decrease it. Allah is called Al-Qaabid. He is the one that has complete control and authority over creation. He is the one that has the wisdom to decide when to withhold or decrease. The Holy Quran says, "And if Allah had increased excessively the sustenance for His servants, they would surely act wrongfully and unjustly on the earth, but He sends it down in due measure as He pleases." This verse means Allah is withholding some sustenance from His servants as Allah knows they would surely act wrongfully with it. Allah may be doing this to protect you or to test you. You probably would like to eat ice cream and candy for breakfast, lunch and dinner, but our parents withhold and stop us to protect us because they know the damage it will cause and they know what is best for you. Now imagine you wanted something really bad and couldn't get it. Allah chooses whether to withhold it or to give it to you right now because He knows what's best for you. Allah may be doing this to protect you or to test you. Just as Allah is Al-Qaabid, He has the wisdom to decide when to withhold or decrease something. He is also Al-Baasit. The word Baasit comes from the root ba-sa-ta, the one that has the wisdom to decide when to extend or increase something. These two names usually go together. The Holy Quran says, Allah increases the sustenance of whichever of His servants He wills. Remember we said Al-Qaabid has to do with withholding and decreasing. Al-Baasit is pretty much the opposite. It has to do with expanding and increasing. Allah says in the Quran, and Allah makes one sustenance decrease, yaqbid, or increase, yabsut. Yaqbid, decrease, comes from the same root word as qabid, and yabsut, increase, comes from the same root word as basit. Things increase and decrease all the time. Your money decreases and increases. Your knowledge decreases and increases. Your body decreases and increases. Your whole life is qabd, decreasing, and bast, increasing. Allah is Al-Baasit. He expands and increases whatever He wishes out of His wisdom and knowledge. Look around you. Look how many things Allah has expanded and increased for you. Look how much knowledge you have now compared to before. Look how much awareness you have now compared to before. Look at your life and how much has been expanded for you. How should we live by this name? 1. If we realize Allah Al-Baasit has increased and expanded for us something in life, then the first thing we should do is thank Him and be grateful to Him by obeying His commands and staying away from sins. 2. Help others understand why Allah withholds certain things and expands certain things to protect us and to test us. Remember, Allah is Al-Baasit, the one that has expanded your knowledge and your wisdom. So help others expand theirs.
Okay, so examples here that were given were to expand other people's knowledge. You can do that by dawah, okay? You can do that by spreading any kind of knowledge, which is also equivalent to sadaqah jariyah as well, isn't it? And also, if something has been expanded in your life, like money, for example, you can actually be grateful to Allah as well for that expansion. Can anybody think of any other examples of things that we can do in our life to do with those two words, withholding and expanding? Anything else that we could do apart from what they spoke about in the video? Okay, let me give you some ideas. Okay, so one thing is to help others. If you've got knowledge to help others, especially if you can mentor or counsel people, you can help them with their problems. So it says here, how to live by his name, be a source of expansion for others, be of those who offer relief to other people, expand the hearts of others by reminding them of the blessings of Allah, and that after hardship comes ease. Okay. We can also be grateful for all the expansion that Allah has done in our lives, like money or food or clothing, things like that. Even for the rain that we have in Essex. We're always complaining about the weather, but did you know that rain is a blessing in Islam? And did you know that each raindrop an angel brings down from the sky? And think of all those places like the Middle East, Jordan, where it never rains and nothing grows. And the economy is awful, and everything is so expensive in Jordan. I have been actually around that area, and everything was so expensive because everything had to be imported in, because they said they can't grow anything there. One, because of the sunshine, and two, because of the acidic ground.
And what about the Palestinians when they didn't have anything to drink?
Yes.
And then it rained, and then obviously they could collect the rainwater to drink.
Yes, yes, that's right. Yes. So, you know, we should really be grateful, and for the long days as well. Okay. Now, the other one, which we can equate this withholding and expanding to, is our prayers. They're not always answered, are they? Okay. But we need to be patient. So, for example, sometimes when we ask for a prayer, Allah straight away expands, if you like, extends his hands, and he answers our prayer straight away, and the answer is yes. Okay? Then sometimes we ask for a prayer, and it's yes, but not now. So Allah has grasped his hand, yeah? He hasn't opened it yet, but it doesn't mean he's not going to open it. So that's a classic example of not extending yet. Okay? And then the third one, I have a better plan for you, which means he's not going to give you what you've asked for. So we have to be patient. We have to totally rely on his decision, whether he withholds or whether he extends what we want. And if he doesn't extend it to us, it means there's a reason for it. Okay? It may be better for us. So Allah knows what is best for us and when it is best for us to have it. Okay? Any more examples? I mean, those are the ones that I've given, but there are other examples we could give. I think that's a beautiful name, but beautiful two names actually, because we already know some people are poor and some people are rich. Another one we can do is people who have lots of rizq, where Allah has extended their provision, they need to take some of that provision and give it to the poor. And we have luckily in our own religion got the zakat principle, where already people have got too much, end up giving to people who don't have too much, to make the world equal. So we've actually naturally got that in our religion of giving when we have too much, where Allah's extended his, you know, provision to us too much, and we use some of that extended provision and give it to somebody where the provision has been withheld. That's a beautiful way of helping out people, isn't it? Okay, any comments or any questions or anything else you want to discuss in relation to these two names first?
I was thinking maybe one example as well might be how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given like knowledge or skills to certain people, not others, but different skills to those people, and how this variety of skill set can come together to organize things like the awareness day we had the other day.
Yes, yes, brilliant example, that one. Do you know, I have seen in my life, because everybody knows I'm a specialist in special needs, children especially, and do you know the amount of children I've seen where Allah has withheld something from them? It can be they can have dyslexia, they can be autistic, but yet in other ways they way excel in other things like art. Do you know, there was one girl and we couldn't think of anything that she was good at, this girl. She was so severely special needs. And, you know, may Allah forgive us, but a lot of us teachers, we used to like sometimes take the mick out of her in the staff room. We'd say, you know, I wonder what she's going to be when she grows up, because we can't think of anything that she's good at. She was quite severe. Anyway, one day there was a talent show in school. And she put up her hand and said she wanted to go on the stage. So she went up on the stage and all of a sudden she sung that song from Titanic. You know, that really difficult song, I Will Always Love You, that one. Oh my gosh, I'll never forget that day because the whole hall were crying. We were all in tears. We couldn't believe it. And afterwards we thought, so that's what her talent is. She had the most beautiful voice. Amazing. So that's where Allah had extended her talent, but had withheld it in other places. So although Allah may take away certain things from us, first of all, we may have other things which others may not have, including skills, but also we will have it in Jannah. We know the poorest people are going to enter Jannah. How many hadiths are there on that? So they may not have it in this world, but they'll have it in the next world. Even people say if you love somebody and you can't have them in this dunya, in the next dunya you will have them then. So it's a test, isn't it? It's a test. What are we going to do? So yeah, that was actually a very good example. Anything else? Okay, let's stop there then.
Okay. Jazakallah khair, Sister Sidra. That was a very interesting talk on another two names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have got an understanding of those. Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for attending. Assalamu alaikum.
And it's a lovely chat.
Yes, wa alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam. Jazakallah khair.
All right then. Okay then. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.